Imagine you're on a plane, cruising high above the clouds. Suddenly, a flash of lightning, a deafening roar, and the world turns upside down. You're falling 10,000 feet into the dark, unforgiving heart of the Amazon rainforest. This isn't a nightmare. This was the reality for 17-year-old Juliane Koepcke. And what happened next is one of the most incredible survival stories ever told. On Christmas Eve, 1971, Juliane and her mother boarded LANSA Flight 508 in Lima, Peru. They were flying to meet her father, a renowned zoologist, to celebrate the holidays together. Juliane, having grown up in the jungle with her scientist parents, was no stranger to the Amazon. Little did she know that knowledge was about to be her only lifeline. About 30 minutes into the flight, the plane flew into a massive thunderstorm. The turbulence was violent, tossing the aircraft around like a toy. Passengers screamed, luggage flew through the cabin. Then, a blinding bolt of lightning struck the wing. Juliane remembers her mother calmly saying, "This is the end, it's all over." Those were the last words she ever heard her mother speak. The plane began to break apart in mid-air. Juliane, still strapped to her row of seats, was ejected into the storm. She fell for what felt like an eternity, tumbling through the air for 2 miles. The seat she was strapped to spun like a helicopter blade, which likely slowed her descent. And the dense, triple canopy foliage of the Amazon acted like a giant, albeit rough, safety net, breaking her fall. When Juliane woke up, it was the next morning. She was alone, deep in the jungle. The silence was eerie, broken only by the hum of insects. She had a broken collarbone, a deep gash on her leg, and one eye was swollen shut. She'd lost one of her shoes and her glasses. All around her was the wreckage of her own personal world. But strangely, no sign of the main plane crash or other survivors. For the first day, she was in a state of shock. But then a core survival instinct instilled by her father kicked in. He had always taught her a crucial rule of the jungle. If you're lost, find water and follow it downstream. Streams and rivers are the highways of the rainforest, eventually leading to civilization. So she began to walk. She found a small spring and followed it. This small trickle of water became her guide, her hope. The journey was a living nightmare. She had only a small bag of candy she'd found in the debris, which she rationed carefully. Hunger gnawed at her. The jungle, a place she once loved, was now a terrifying adversary. The nights were the worst, filled with the sounds of unseen creatures. Poisonous snakes slithered past her, but thankfully left her alone. Days bled into one another. Her wounds became infected. The gash on her arm was infested with maggots. She was plagued by insect bites that became infected and painful. At one point, she was so weak and despondent, she considered giving up. But the memory of her parents and the survival lessons they taught her pushed her forward. She remembered seeing her father treat a dog with a similar infestation by using gasoline to force the maggots out. It was a gruesome memory, but one that would soon prove vital. On the 10th day of her ordeal, she stumbled upon a small, empty hut and a motorized canoe tied up at the riverbank. It was the first sign of human life she'd seen. She was exhausted, on the brink of collapse. She found a container of gasoline in the hut. Recalling her father's lesson, she poured the gasoline over her maggot-infested wound. The pain was excruciating, but it worked. She managed to extract about 30 maggots from her arm. She decided to wait in the hut, too weak to continue. She heard voices. A few hours later, a group of local lumberjacks returned to their camp. When they saw her, they were stunned, thinking she was a yamanya, a mythical water spirit from local folklore. She was a pale, ghost-like figure with one eye, covered in mud and blood. Juliane spoke to them in Spanish, explaining what had happened. The men were shocked but incredibly kind. They treated her wounds with local remedies, gave her food, and let her rest. The next day, after a long canoe journey, they brought her to a small village with a missionary outpost. From there, she was airlifted to a hospital. She was finally safe. Out of the 92 people on board LANSA Flight 508, Juliane Koepcke was the sole survivor. Her miraculous story of survival against all odds captivated the world. But for Juliane, it was a story marked by immense loss and survivor's guilt. She had lost her mother and everyone else on that flight. Juliane eventually followed in her parents' footsteps, becoming a renowned mammologist, dedicating her life to studying the very jungle that had almost claimed her. She returned to the crash site many times, trying to make sense of the tragedy. Her story is not just about survival. It's about resilience, the power of knowledge, and the unbreakable spirit of a young woman who fell from the sky and walked out of the green hell. Her incredible journey reminds us that even in our darkest moments, there can be a path forward, a stream to follow, leading us back to the light. Thank you for watching. If you found this story as incredible as I did, please hit that like button, subscribe to our channel, and ring the bell so you don't miss our next deep dive into history's most amazing stories. See you next time.